This is estate planning attorney Jason Lindamood, and today I'd like to talk about powers of attorney. More specifically, a medical power of attorney along with a HIPAA authorization. And why, in my opinion, we need those as two separate documents rather than combined into one. So, along with every will or revocable trust that I draft for clients, I always include 4 additional documents with it. Let's call those ancillary documents that come into play if we ever become incapacitated for a period of time. Think, for instance, we are in a car crash and are unconscious in the hospital for a couple weeks, and we either need our spouse or one of our loved ones to step into our shoes and make decisions on our behalf. This is where an ancillary document, like a medical power of attorney or a HIPAA authorization, comes in handy. And it comes in handy more often than we would think. The medical power of attorney allows our designated person to make healthcare decisions for us if we're, to use our previous example, unconscious in the hospital, right? And the HIPAA authorization allows our designated person to quickly access our medical records should they need to. Quick example for those here in the Houston area, which is where I'm located. Our spouse is unconscious down at one of the major hospitals down in the medical center. And the specialists there need our spouse's medical records from our family doctor to better inform them on how to proceed with treatment. That HIPAA authorization serves to quickly cut through that red tape and allow us to get their medical records sent without any hiccups. So that's the general overview of what these 2 ancillary documents do and how they work in conjunction with one another. They're sort of sister documents. Think of it that way. Here's the punchline to this video. I've seen lawyers create and draft a medical power of attorney and include the HIPAA language inside of that POA. They include the HIPAA language inside of the medical power of attorney. They essentially take 2 documents and they synthesize them into one. On the surface, it seems efficient and that makes sense. I have a personal preference as to why I prefer 2 separate, different documents. Sometimes we have language in our medical power of attorney that can be sensitive in nature. And as a big believer in privacy, I don't necessarily want every provider's office to have a copy of it simply because I need my family members' medical records from them. Because we're going to have to email or walk that document, talking about the HIPAA authorization, into that office, and they're going to scan it into their system. And I prefer to keep those 2 documents separated because I can better control when and how I utilize them independently of one another. Now, I'm not saying it's wrong per se to combine your medical power of attorney with your HIPAA authorization, but from a privacy standpoint, I really recommend keeping those 2 things separated and drafting them as standalone documents. There are so many things that are no longer private in this world that I really like the idea of controlling what we can control, even on a minimal level, and only sharing what we need, especially when we're talking about sensitive information that is at issue. So, simply my opinion, I like 2 standalone documents rather than one synthesized combined document. Think about having a separate medical power of attorney and also a separate HIPAA authorization. And remember, the HIPAA authorization only allows you to get your relatives or your loved ones' medical records. And the medical power of attorney allows you to step into their shoes to make whatever call is needed on their behalf should they be unconscious or incapacitated. So, 2 different documents. I like them separately. Don't like them synthesized. I think it's a better practice to keep them separate. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you know anyone who may gain some value from this video, please feel free to share it. Also, if you're in a position to hit a like button or leave a comment, that is always appreciated. And I'll talk to you again soon.